This your boy Uptown Trey with a video for y'all today. How y'all doing? I'm going to be doing in this video with some rotors, drill slided rotors, and some brake pads with these right here. Some nice good brake pads. And then I'm going to be doing it on this 2021 Audi A6. This is a 3.0 turbo. Just to let y'all know, I just wanted y'all to see everything, how it looks from here. But this is a 2021, and we're gonna be doing the front brake pads and rotors on this beauty right here. This is my car, so everything that I'm doing is on my cars. Just letting y'all know. But let's first start with getting the car jacked up. So on this car, they have what you would call like indication marks, which is located on the right front of like a pinch weld. So there's like a little indent that's on there, and they want you to jack it up from that part. It looked like Audi leave a specific spot for where they want you to jack up the cars at and stuff like that. So once you get the jack set up, just jack that thing up. Don't mind my surfer pad that's on the ground. I left my work mat at the job and shit, so I couldn't even couldn't even bring it, but it got the job done, so that's all that matters. Once you start jacking it up, stuff like that, I like to get like a jack stand. You always want to do a job with jack stands, man. Just safety is always the #1 priority. You always want to have jack stands and stuff like that. This is your lug nut key. They put it in the trunk of these cars for this model, and they put it in that little compartment right there. But here you go. Here's the caliper. Caliper is only held up by 2 bolts, one at the top, and then it's a bolt at the bottom. And to get those bolts out, you are going to need a special socket. This is a 3.5 7-point socket. Without that socket, you will not be able to get them bolts out. That's the only socket that you need. So gotta get that socket. So like I said, there's only 2 bolts holding the caliper up. So you just want to kind of get those bolts off. They're pretty long, so once you crack them loose, I like to crack them loose with a couple turns. And then once I get that loose, I kind of get the electric ratchet. Once you get that electric ratchet, then you know the bolts is pretty long, so it's going to take a while if you're going to be cranking all day. Get them bolts out of there, and then once you get those bolts out of that, you should be able to get the caliper off nice and pretty easy and stuff like that. This is a big caliper. And then you're gonna need what you would need, like a screwdriver or any type of pry tool to pry those pistons back, because the pistons is pushed out and they're very tight up against the rotor. So you're gonna need a flathead screwdriver to get those pistons pushed back, just so you can get that caliper taken off. And then once you do that, the brake pads are in there, like kind of a little tight. You gotta kind of hit it with something. Get that pad out of there. And once you get that pad out of there, but look at this pad, man. This pad is like to the bone. Like I don't even know how I was driving like that. It's kind of crazy. And this rotor has a retaining bolt. It's a torque 30. I believe. I'm pretty sure it's a torque 30. Excuse me, I did this job a while ago. I'm just now posting it, but it's a torque 30 bolt. Socket that you're gonna need to get that rotor off there. This rotor is on there. You see me hitting it with a hammer. So this is a tool that I think everyone should have. You should have a torch. Torch, man, this comes in like this is very handy, because if I ain't had this torch, these rotors was not coming off. Like, I don't know, if I had an air hammer, if you in the shop, you probably make something happen and you'll probably get those rotors off there. But the thing is, it's like I'm working in my driveway on concrete, so I had to do what I had to do. So I had this torch that I got out of my garage, and you kind of want to heat it up right where the rotor is sitting on the axle, because that's the only place where the rotor is being held up. Then you get the hammer, then boop, look at that, comes right off. Once you hit it off with the hammer, it's sweet. But look at the inside of this rotor. Kind of hard for you to see it, but it's grinding. Like, you can see the lines from where my brake pads was grinding onto the rotor. So once you fucking take them rotors off, you can see it right there. Then you have the hub. So with these cars, and I noticed when I was doing it, these don't have a caliper bracket. The caliper is only held on by 2 bolts, and you don't, once you take the 2 bolts off, the caliper comes off. You don't need to remove caliper bracket bolts or anything like that. You don't need no breaker bar or stuff like that. Once you take them 2 bolts off, that's it. That's the access to the rotor. Then you clean this rotor off with some brake cleaner, get that factory lubricant off of there, and then we good to go. And then now it's time to get this rotor on there. You want to get that retaining bolt on there. It is a torque 30. I believe some models is a little bit different, but if you have a generic torque 30 set, torque bit set, you should be able to get that bolt off. This bolt came off pretty easy too. And then this tool right here is the brake brake piston tool. There's multiple different brake piston tools. You got the C-clamp, you have that gun tool, but this one is the ratcheting style. I prefer that you use this one because the way that these calipers are set up with the pistons, it's like 4 pistons on each side of the caliper if you kind of look in there. And you're going to need to push them all down evenly. So you're going to need a tool like this to kind of push that piston down. It's like the ratcheting brake piston tool. Once you get it in there, you're gonna have to just ratchet that down and push all them pistons down evenly. You get what I'm saying? So once you get them pistons down, pushed down evenly, then you should be good. I like to grease up the sliding. Well, these calipers don't have sliding pins, but I like to grease up the grooves for where the brake pads fit in. This is just, standard brake grease. You can get this from AutoZone, Amazon, whatever. But these are the new brake pads right here. If you kind of look, but look how thick these is. And then look at my old ones right there. Like, I don't even know how I was driving all this time with it. But that just goes to show you how good this car is. I was driving with bad brakes all this time, and it barely felt like it. But yeah, you got to get these brake pads in there. They are a little tough. You're gonna have to kind of like shimmy them in there, like try to like one at a time, because it's one on each side. So you got to do like one on the one side, then you got to do the one on the other side, and it's a little bit tough. So you got to kind of get that in there. Once you get that in there, it will be able to fit, but kind of get something to like wedge it in there and kind of use a little bit of force, a little bit, not too crazy, but once you get the brake pads in there, you should be good. And then you can just do the other side and stuff like that. But then again, these are in both sides. You see, you got the one brakes at the bottom and you got the one brake at the top. So it's like it sandwiches inside of the rotors. And I like to just put a little bit of grease right there where the brakes actually slide across on there. Because like I said, these don't have no sliding pins. So that's basically the only thing that gets greased, those areas right there. And then yeah, just get this caliper back on. Once you get the caliper back on, all you have to do is just line them 2 bolts up. Just line the holes up and put that bolt in there. It is a little tricky because this bolt is going through like a big caliper. Like, you see how big these calipers are. You got to get the bolt like lined up first and then kind of start hand tighten it just to kind of catch it with the threads a little bit. But once you catch it, you're going to feel it and it's going to be money. And then for the lower bolt, you kind of got to get a little bit under there. Once you get a little bit underneath, you're going to see that once you line up the first one, the second one is easily lined up because it's perfectly in the right spot where it needs to be. Then, you just want to tighten it down. These are some long bolts, so I recommend using like an electric ratchet. You don't got to go too crazy, but just get them tightened down. But always tighten it hand tight with a ratchet when you're done. But here you go. Here's the brake pads and here's the rotors. Nice drill slided rotors and stuff like that. But make sure you pump the brake pedal and then top off any fluids and close that cap. Thank you for watching, man. Appreciate it. Oh yeah, please like and subscribe, man. I'll see y'all next time for another video.